Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be making my October bullet journal theme. If you don't know already, October is my favorite month of the year. I am a hardcore Halloween girly. I absolutely love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. And also, my birthday is in October. My birthday is October 1st, which is why you're seeing this video a day early. Every year, I post all of my October bullet journaling content on September 30th, so I don't have to worry about it on my birthday. But because of that, my birthday's on the first day of the month and my favorite holiday is on the last day of the month. October is just always my favorite month. And that means, of course, we have to do a really super special bullet journal theme for my favorite month. I talked about this in my bullet journal video last year for October, but I always like to do bullet journal themes for October that are Halloween centric or spooky centric in general, but they aren't very specifically Halloween. If you don't know what I mean, some of my past examples, in 2021 I did Scooby-Doo. Last year I did some of the female protagonists from some of my favorite spooky movies, so it was like Morticia and Wednesday Addams, Bride of Frankenstein, Elvira, people like that. And I love doing stuff like that because I like to celebrate all things spooky even if they're not like specifically for Halloween. And today is going to be no different. I've already decided that the theme that I want to do this year for Halloween is Clue. In these journal with me videos, I always love to take the opportunity to share a little bit about myself and tell you a little anecdote or something that relates to the bullet journal theme. And I of course wanted to do Clue for October, not just because it's a little spooky murder mystery kind of board game slash movie slash play, but I don't know if you guys would know this about me. I love games. I feel like in a lot of my friend circles, I am the game girl. I'm always the one that suggests we play a game. I love board games, I love talking games, I love card games, I love interactive games, just any kind of party game I love. Insert that meme that says, when the function has structure or is activity based. That's me. The other day, my boyfriend asked me basically if I had to give up one of the three things, what would it be? And it was journaling, Taylor Swift, and playing games, and I said that I would give up journaling, which is crazy. This is all to say, I love games and I always have, and when I was a kid, Clue was one of my favorite games to play. It was always my suggestion for family game night, and I still love it. I love the movie, love the play, and I feel like it has such iconic imagery and such iconic characters that it would be the perfect thing to translate into a bullet journal theme. So the first thing that we're gonna do is I'm gonna send you over to look at my Pinterest board that I made, then we will start sketching. Okay, we're gonna look at my Pinterest board. Last night I went through Pinterest and I gathered a bunch of inspiration images. As you all know, the things that I like to pin on Pinterest when I'm designing a bullet journal theme are usually posters and graphic art, like graphic design, photo collage, photos from whatever the reference is. Obviously for this one, I was pulling from a lot of different inspirations because Clue, the concept, has been translated into lots of different media. It's a game, but it's also a movie. It's been a stage musical show. There's lots of different things to pull from, and I also pinned on here a lot of like the board game assets, like the cards and the boards and the pieces and stuff like that, because those are like to me the main inspiration for this theme. So let's take a look at my Pinterest board. The first things that I want to talk about here are I pinned a lot of a really cool design that I think are not official. Like these illustrations of the characters are so cool. These are cool. I love them. I love the use of color. I saw a lot of these illustrations. I think this must be an actual card. I don't know if this is from like a really old version of the game. This one for the billiard room, which are both so cool. I like these like interpretations of the rooms, but these have so many cute little illustrations of the rooms. We also have these. I think these might be real from a really oh yeah, this looks like it's from the 1960 release of the game. These are the weapon cards, which are so cute. I love the illustrations on those. I like this one, which is just a good reference for the layout of the rooms. Spoiler alert, I did use this as a reference when I was doing one of the sketches in my journal last night. So these are the illustrations from the version of the game that my family has and that I played when I was a kid. I really like this one. These, I don't know if somebody just made these, but these kind of look like they could be like punched out of cardboard to be the game pieces in the game that you use on the board. And I thought that those would be a really cool thing to add as like a doodle on one of the pages because they are so iconic and recognizable. I also love these like caricature versions of the characters. Like I feel like these characters are so memorable and they're so recognizable no matter how you draw them. So I feel like it would be fun if I did my own version of them. This is a cool illustration of the characters too. I don't know what this is from. I guess this is a poster for the movie. I love this one. This I think is my favorite. I love the use of the colored backgrounds and then just the black hatching kind of. I mean, it would be hatching if I did it. This is obviously a photo that's been manipulated, but if I did it, it would be like hatching. I also like these like silhouettes of the characters just in their colors. I also pinned these, like this is the little sheet that you have when you play the game that you can like check off, and this coincidentally so perfectly looks like a habit tracker, so I think I'm gonna use that as the habit tracker grid. There is also this poster from the movie, which is so iconic. I love the idea that the characters are in the windows of the house. I feel like that could be such a cool thing to do on the cover page. So as I mentioned, I have already sketched for some of the pages, so I think the next thing that you're gonna see is me chatting through the sketches. I'll get back to you when I figured out what I'm gonna do for that, okay? I'm done sketching and I'm really excited. I'm so excited to show you. I think it's gonna be so cool. So I'm gonna show you the thumbnails that I did in my sketchbook, and then I'll show you what it looks like in my journal. Okay, the audio in this video is insane. Like, it's so bad and it changes every other clip, so I'm gonna dub over what I was talking about this in clip. So right here I was showing the two thumbnails. My first idea was to do the outside of the house and then have the characters in each of the windows of like the mansion. The other one was like a case file, but I decided I didn't really like it. And the house was a reference to that movie poster. So this is the sketch and how it looked in my journal. I think it looks really cool and it has like a lot of potential to be very dynamic. My plan for this is to have the background be pitch black and then fill in the house with like dark gray and like some grayish tones so that it's like, I don't know, has some tone variance. My original idea was to do the entire background black, like the sky and the house itself was going to be black, and then I would do the line art on top of the black with like a white gel pen. I decided against that because I thought it was going to be a little bit too hard to read, like it would just get a little too muddled, I think. So I think what I am going to do is just do the gray and then just the back sky will be black, like the poster. But what I really want to do is keep those 6 windows in the middle super bright, and I'm gonna fill in the background of each of them with the color of each of the characters. So there'll be a red, a yellow, green, blue, purple, and white for like the 6 main characters. And then I will add the characters in each window using kind of like a hatching technique. The style that I'm attempting with this method of using the colored background and the hatching is very similar to, if you remember, the Taylor Swift theme that I did last year in May. That was the Eras Tour inspired, and I'll show you what it looked like. Anybody remember this old journal from last year? What I did here was I basically was referencing the Eras Tour poster, and I filled in each of the squares with a plain back color, just with a marker that matched the color of the era. And then using some reference photos, I just hatched Taylor's face into each one using a black fine liner. I have a very detailed tutorial on how I did it in that journal with me video from last year, which I'll link in the description if you want to watch it and learn about that drawing technique that I used. But I think that that will translate really well into the style that I intend on drawing the castle, or not the castle, the mansion in for this theme. I think they'll like go really well together. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the sketch that I did for some of the other pages. The night before, I did sketch this illustration page, which is the game board from Clue, and I did follow along that reference that I pointed out that I pinned on Pinterest to draw this, because I did want the rooms to be kind of the same shape, even though I had to kind of adapt it to fit onto the size and shape of paper that I had. But I think it looks really cool, and I intended on doing a very similar thing where the backgrounds of each of the rooms would be like block color of one of the characters, and then have some sort of hatched design or like room decoration or furniture inside each of the rooms, and I would just do that with like a black fine liner also. The header for my calendar was inspired by one of the Clue on stage posters that I saw, which just had these like blocked stripes behind the text, which I thought was simple and the colors are recognizable, so it would be a cool look. And then for the habit tracker page, I did draw in the little clue sheet that you get when you play the game, and I just kind of split it up into 3 different sections, because on the real ones with the game, it's split into like suspects and then weapons and then rooms on the bottom. But it's just going to be like 3 different groups of days for my habit tracker. But I just feel like that visual separation makes it look more similar to the sheet. And then I also drew those little weapons that looked like little punched out of cardboard paper cutout weapons as a little doodle on the side of this page. So those I thought were really cute. I didn't sketch anything from the moments page yet, but it ended up being really simple anyway. Okay, there's going to be so much voiceover in this video because of how much I royally messed up my audio by covering up my microphone on my camera. Anyway, I started working on my divider page with the ink. I'm using a paint pen, as I feel like I have been using in every video recently. I'm sorry that I've been using paint pens so often. I feel like all of the themes that I've been doing have just like really worked with paint pens recently. Anyway, I'm using paint pens to do the black background like I mentioned, and I feel like the paint pen just gives like the best, like thick, opaque, deep black that you want for the background, especially like for a really spooky design like this. And I outlined the text for the title of the page, and I used the Clue font that they use for like the posters and the board game box and stuff like that. Then I picked out a bunch of different gray tones. These are all of my Tombow Duo brush pens, a bunch of the different grays that I have. And this is something that I don't usually do very often, which is do like color before I do line art. That's not usually the process that I do, but for this, I knew I wanted the line art to like be very artistic looking and kind of like free flowing. And so when I do that, I usually think it's good to do color first and then do line art. So I used a bunch of different colors of gray, and I kind of did like a base background color with this like blue gray first, and then I went back over it with a bunch of different gray tones that I had to kind of add shadow and add highlight and just add texture where I wanted it, because I knew the whole thing was going to be stone or brick or just like have lots of different textures. So I wanted the colors that I used to reflect that. I based the shape of this, I keep wanting to say castle, it's not a castle, it's a mansion. I based the shape of this mansion off of the one from the movie poster that I showed on Pinterest, but I obviously had to kind of change the size and shape of it to fit onto my journal page because I really wanted it to like fit snugly in the page. And then I used some fine liners to go over the line art for the mansion. I kind of did this in phases, so I did that basic background color block with the grays, and then I used a little bit of fine liner to do some of the basic shapes. So I like did the outlines of the doors, some of the major brick shapes, the windows, and then I kind of went back to the markers and I added more texture in the background, went back to the fine liners, added some more line art and like stone texture, brick shapes, stuff like that. And it was kind of a labor of love like that, like going back and forth, building up the layers of texture and line. And I feel like that's the best way to get a really like artistic touch on something like this. And I was being very like creative, letting myself have fun doing texture. Like I did this scalloped, I don't know what they call that, roofing, and I did different stone texture on like the turrets than I did as bricks on the actual walls. And it was really fun just to play around with stuff like that. Then I went back in with more of my paint pens. I picked out the colors that I wanted for each of the characters to fill in the backgrounds of the windows. So I ended up not having the right shade of purple, so I just used a regular marker for that, which was a mistake, but I didn't have a purple and I wasn't gonna go buy one for this video. Oh, and I also did the text in orange because that's how it was on the poster, and I thought it was spooky. It was giving Halloween. It really like glowed above the building and kind of looked like a moon. But here I am just filling in the colors for the windows. I kind of wish that I hadn't done this, and I'll talk about it later, but it ended up kind of being a nightmare to try and sketch on top of this. But, you know, I didn't know what I wanted to do for like the style of the characters yet, so I just put the color down and I like how it looks anyway, so. Okay, hello everyone, it's a little bit later. I just did my sketches for the people for the divider page that I was talking about earlier, and I'm gonna show you what I sketched and I'll kind of talk you through what I'm gonna do. So my original idea, I know I showed that reference of my Taylor Swift theme that I did last year, and I originally thought about that, but then I was thinking that it might be better if they are just silhouettes. A lot of the reference pictures that I was looking at on Pinterest also included silhouettes of the characters, which I feel like is a cool way to represent them, Because the story of Clue has been used in so many different formats, like the game, the movie, the stage show, and stuff like that, because the characters don't have one look that they're known for, I feel like a cool way to represent them is just by the color and then a silhouette that kind of represents their character. Like Miss Scarlet's gonna have long hair because she's kind of supposed to be glamorous, and then Miss White is gonna be wearing a maid outfit, but her age might not be like obvious. So I feel like that's a cool way to represent them without like pinpointing too closely like which iteration of the story you're basing it on. So I also called my boyfriend and he was like, you should do the silhouettes. So made up the decision for me. I was also looking at one of the pictures on Pinterest, and in that one it was the silhouettes and then each of the characters was holding a weapon and the weapon was in white. And I really like how that looked. So I tried to incorporate that on here and we'll see how it goes. So I'll show you my sketches. You can't really see them very well, but it's just for reference for me, but you'll see when I'm actually filling them in. So if you can tell here, I have some really faint sketches of each of the characters. Like for this one of Miss Scarlet, I just kind of did the loose outline. I think I'm going to try and do the dark black for like the hair and maybe the clothing. And then I'm going to use this like lighter gray kind of color that I have for the skin tone so that you can kind of differentiate like a shape and like a pose in there. And then I will of course use a white for the weapons that they're each holding. So let's try it. Okay, I must say at this point, I was severely winging it. I was so nervous that I was gonna mess these up, like on the first try, and it wasn't gonna look good, and I wasn't gonna have, like, the paint pens that I use sometimes, I don't think that the blue would have been, like, opaque enough to go back over the black and, like, redo it, so I was kind of freaking out. And when I was doing this gray right here, I was really freaking out, because I was like, oh my god, that's really dark. You can't see, but also that was kind of the point. Like I wanted it to all be very dark, and the only reason why I chose two different colors, like the gray and the black, was so that you could get a very slight differentiation of like her body and the pose. So it's like the black is the hair and the clothes, and the light gray is the skin. But I mean, it doesn't really matter anyway, and when you look at it from far away, the effect definitely comes across. Right there, you could see me trying to use my white paint pen, which was the part that I talked about before, which was a mistake because it did not layer at all. You'll see me later. What I ended up doing was using acrylic paint on top. Once my layers of like paint pen on all of the characters and the marker had dried, I just used a regular basic white acrylic paint, and I used that to paint in each of the weapons. And that was definitely the right choice, because if I had kept going over this over and over and over with my white paint pen, it would have been a nightmare. It would have been so like goopy and thick. And honestly, it was thick anyway, because acrylic paint is just like plastic anyway. So it was really thick anyway. But it ended up looking really cool. It gave the effect that I wanted, which was just a bright, punchy white in like the sea of like saturated color in the black silhouettes of the characters. So it ended up working out, even though it was a nightmare while I was trying to do it, and I was like, I don't have enough time, I'm so busy right now, but it ended up working out anyway. Question for the comments that I would love to hear: when you play Clue, what character do you like to be? When I was a kid, my mom and I used to argue over who got to be Miss Scarlet, because she's the queen, obviously, and when I was a kid, my mom would let me win and I could be Miss Scarlet. But now that I'm an adult, I'm like, I feel like I can't argue with my mom over being Miss Scarlet anymore. So I do like Miss Scarlet, but I do love a good Professor Plum moment, especially in the version of the game that I had. Professor Plum was a little cutie, so I like that. Let me know which Clue character you like to play as. And also, I would like to know, if you're just playing a regular board game where the pieces are just colors, like you can be whatever color, let me know what color of game piece you always play. I feel like most people like always gravitate towards the same color, and like I know what colors my family likes to play as, and my close friends, like I know what color everyone likes to be. When I was a kid, I liked to be pink if there's pink, but nowadays I either like to be orange if there's orange, or green. But also, this is the thing where my boyfriend likes to be green, so we have to argue over who gets to be green. So usually I will be orange and my boyfriend will be green. But I still, of course, do love a good pink moment when pink is available, because, you know, pink is pink. Okay, I wanted to take a break from working on my journal to do a little chit chat section. You guys know that I love to have a chatty section of every video where I talk about something that's like related to the journal topic, or just like something from my life. And today's chatty section is going to be recommending games to play. So I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm the person at every function that wants there to be a game, whether it's like with friends or with family, a big group or a small group, there is a game for every situation. And I like to do ones that like require for people to like not look at their phones or just like be disconnected from their phones for a while and just like really be present. I think that's my favorite thing about games, is that it forces everyone to like actually pay attention. My other favorite thing about them is that if you're in a group where like not everyone knows each other, it's a really good way to get people talking and like automatically give everyone a subject to like be interested in. Okay, so I've decided to divide all of my game suggestions into 3 sections. There's board games, apps, and DIY games. And I'm gonna rapid fire the board games because I feel like a lot of them you probably know. So if you wanted to buy one, you can. Board games I kind of split into like games that are good for everyone. Like if you have a family with like young kids and older people, everyone can play. And then there are some that are more like strategy. You really have to be focused. Okay, so the easier ones that I think are good for a full group are classics categories. 5-second rule, which gives you a category and you have 5 seconds to name 3 things in the category. Blank slate, it's basically like making compound words. Like the prompt card will say like a word and then a blank, and then you have to write a second word to go in the blank that makes it like a compound word, and your goal is to like match with people. I also love taboo. They give you a card and you have to describe it to your partner, whatever the word is on the card, but there's a list of things you can't say. If you're trying to describe hamburger, it'll be like you can't say meat, or you can't say sandwich, or you can't say bun. You have to find out a creative way to describe it. Tapple is a new favorite. It can be like fun family game. It can be casual, but it's also really good drinking game. It's basically categories, but you have to name things that start with each of the letters, and like there's a time limit. Imaginiff, which is kind of like how well do you know the players in the group. The Uzzle is a really good just like visual puzzle game. Board games that are fun but they're harder, of course, Scrabble. Guess Who, but played the TikTok way. The TikTok way to play it is you can't ask your partner questions about what they look like. They have to all be like superficial questions. So you can say like, would your person that you picked be a Taylor Swift fan? Or would your person pictured be in a college fraternity? Would your person you picked be like a finance bro? It's kind of crazy how easy it is actually, because you would think that it makes it a lot harder, but it's actually pretty easy to play that way. It's so fun. The other 2 board games that I love are Codenames. It's a little bit harder. It's definitely like a little bit more involved. Coup, which is also a strategy game. And the last board game is Werewolf. If you're my friend Lindsay watching, shout out to Lindsay because she's the one who showed me this game a long time ago. That game is kind of like if you ever in elementary school played Mafia, where you have like everyone close their eyes and there's like a narrator and you have to figure out who the mafia is. It's like that, but it comes with cards. There's an app that you can get where it will play the narrator audio track for you. That game is also very versatile for like any number of players. The next category is apps, and I know I said I don't like when people look at their phones while we're playing games, but these 2 games, obviously you have to have your phone. The first one is just Heads Up. Heads Up is the best game to play while you're waiting in line at an amusement park. And then the other one is Jackbox. But if you haven't played it before, Jackbox is a thing you can download on like an Xbox or PlayStation or on like your Fire Stick. And it's an app on there that everyone who's playing, like you gather around the TV and everyone connects to it individually from their phone. You can buy on Jackbox different party packs. Each party pack has like 5 digital games on it. Player will sign in on their phone and you'll like appear on the screen as a player, and it just like prompts you to your phone what to do. They're so easy. They're so much fun. I'll recommend the 3 party packs that I like. I like party pack 3, which has some of my favorite games. There's Trivia Murder Party, which is just like trivia. It has Faking It, which is like trying to find the imposter in the room, kind of like Among Us. And it has TKO, which is kind of like designing t-shirts. I also really love Party Pack 6 because that has my favorite Jackbox game, which is Role Models, which is kind of like a personality type game where you have to like divide your group into different personality types, which is so fun. Okay, and the other one that I really like is Party Pack 5. That one has one about doing rap battles, which is really fun. And it has one about like designing and inventing products. I feel like this section is really long, but I wanted to talk about all my games. The last category of games that I want to talk about are what I call DIY games, where like you don't have to go to the store and buy something to play it. The first one in this category, which is my favorite game of all time. I don't know if other people play this game. My family plays a game called Celebrities, which is so easy and so fun. And I'll explain to you how to play it. Celebrities is a game like Taboo where everyone sits around a table and you cut out little pieces of paper and everyone writes down celebrities on the paper. You can write people who are alive, people who are dead, people who are fictional or real. So you write down as many as you want, fold them up and put them into a bowl, and basically you go around the circle. I'll start and I'll give clues to the person next to me. I have a 1-minute timer. Feed them as many as possible. The only rule is that you can't say anything that's on the paper, and you can't say it rhymes with something. You can say anything else you want about that person or that character, and as long as they say what's on the paper, you put it down and do another one, and you have a minute to get as many as you can. Our only extra rule is that if you're in the middle of giving a clue and the timer goes off and they don't get it, you don't say it out loud. You have to fold it up and put it back in the bowl. Oh, and our other thing is, per minute of giving clues, you can only have one skip. So if you pull something out and you don't know who it is, you can put one back in, but then if like the next one you pick up you also don't know who it is, you have to stick with it until the end of the minute. So like I'll give to the person next to me, and then they'll give clues to the person next to them. You'll keep going around the circle, and you get points for however many you guessed right. For both the giver of the clues and the receiver of the clues, you both get the same number of points for each round. And then once you go around the circle one full time, then I'll give to the third person, and then the person next to me will give to the person like 2 to their right, and you keep going around the circle like that until all the clues have been guessed. The other ones that I love are blind karaoke, and then the last one that I'm recommending is Fishbowl, which I'm sure you've played before also. Similar to celebrities, everyone that's playing will write down things on pieces of paper and put them in a bowl. But the thing about Fishbowl is that the things that you write down don't have to be people. They can be a person's name, or they can be a thing, they can be a phrase, they can be a reference to something, it can be an inside joke, it can be anything that you want. You fold them up and put them in a bowl. The game is 3 different rounds of trying to guess all the things in the bowl. The first round, everyone splits into 2 teams. You take turns, like 1 minute at a time. Team A will go, and then the second minute, Team B will go. During your minute, one person stands up and tries to describe what is on the piece of paper to their group. It's same as celebrities. You can say anything you want as long as it's not the words on the paper you can't say it rhymes with. You get as many as you can in the first minute, and then the other team will go. They'll do a minute. You keep going back and forth until all of the clues have been guessed. One person will read out all the clues one more time. So even if you didn't like know one of the inside jokes, or if you don't know what the reference is, or if you don't know who one of the celebrities is that was written down, you at least get to hear it one more time before all of the papers are folded back up and put in the bowl one more time. You stay in your same teams, and you basically go through the bowl another time, trying to guess all the same things, but this time the way you try to get your team to guess them is by doing charades. So it'll still be 1 minute for Team A, 1 minute for Team B, and once you've done it that time, you put all the words back in the bowl one more time, and the third round you have to guess each of the clues by a 1-word clue, so it's like password. So usually by the end of the 3 rounds, whichever team has the most points wins. But my friend Lucy introduced me to a really fun way to play it last weekend, where you do a secret 4th round, and the 4th round you put all the clues back in the bowl, and you do charades again, but the person that's doing the charades has to wear a blanket on top of their head. You can only see major body movements. Okay, those are all my game recommendations. This section was probably like 20 minutes long, but I love games, so enjoy, have fun playing. Did you enjoy that almost 10-minute rant about what my favorite board games are? And would you believe me if I actually cut out like 10 extra minutes of that? Like, I talked about more games than that, but I was like, this is ridiculous, and the video is actually no longer about journaling, so I was like, I just have to cut it out. If you want more board game recommendations, maybe follow me on Instagram or DM me or comment, and I'll give you some more board game recommendations because I love games. But this is me working on the calendar header. It was very simple. It was just inspired by one of the posters for the stage musical, and it's just simple text with these color block stripes behind it. And I wanted to ask if everyone has seen the Clue movie, which I hope you have. If you have not, please pause the video and go watch it and then come back, because that movie is incredible. I love it. I watched it for the first time pretty recently with my family, and it's amazing. And if you've never seen it, or if you have seen it and you didn't know this fun fact, I'm surprised you didn't know it. But my fun fact is, when that movie came out in, I think, the 70s, maybe early 80s, they had an alternate ending for the movie. So the movie had, I think, 6 different endings, and in each one, the result of like the murder mystery was different. So in each version of the movie ending, a different character was like found out for committing the crime, for like committing the murder. And when my dad told me that when we were watching the movie, I was like, that is so crazy, because the way that people were just going to the movie theater, had no idea that the movie that they were seeing was different than the movie that other people they knew had seen. Like, I feel like it must have taken so much longer back then for, like, the news to get out that there were alternate endings, because the only way to really know that would be to, like, be by word of mouth, like telling your friend, oh, I saw this movie and this was the crazy ending, and then they see it and then they're like, oh, that's not the ending that I saw, and like that's how you would find out. And I feel like it's so sad because social media and like the rapid news cycle nowadays would never allow something so cool and beautiful like that to happen in pop culture, because immediately nowadays, if that was the case, somebody would have posted about it on TikTok or on Twitter, and within 5 minutes, like, people would know that that's what they were trying to do, which is so unfortunate because that kind of thing is so special and must have been so cool at the time. And I just feel like the world we live in now would never allow something like that to happen ever again, which, you know, that's just a product of the time, and there are lots of great things that come with social media. Anyway, here I am working on my illustration page, which I think turned out to be my favorite page of all of these spreads. It is just the Clue game board, but the colors and like the color placement technique that I used I think is so cool. It kind of looks like paint samples or something. I can't pin my nose on what I think it reminds me of, but what I ended up doing, I was thinking about doing kind of like a cross-hatched like design of the interior of each of these rooms like I described earlier in the video. But what I ended up doing was I assigned a color to each room that was going to be like the floor color of each room. And then in each one, I just drew a couple of little like set pieces. So in the hall, I drew that piano. In the conservatory, I did plants. In the study, I did like a desk and a chair. The ballroom, I did a dance floor. And I filled in the floor with the color assigned to each room, but it's only on the surrounding floor. And then for each of the objects that I drew to be placed in each room, I did those completely in black and white. So I drew the line art in black, and then I filled in each, like, a couple elements of each design with black. So like the pillows or like the tabletop in some rooms were all black. And I feel like the contrast is just so cool looking, especially with the color blocky floors behind it. I think it was just a really cool design technique, and it really ties in the colors with the rest of the pages in these spreads, which I feel like is always something that I try to focus on when I design a journal theme. I always want like the design style and like, I guess I would say the branding elements, because that's what I would call it for my job, but like the branding elements really tie together throughout all the pages, even though like it's an illustration on one page and another page is just a header. Like the design style needs to like look very similar and cohesive throughout all the pages. And I feel like the way that I did that for this theme was by using those really blocky colored shapes and then doing all the details in black and white and gray or neutral brown tones, which I think ended up looking so, so cool. Okay, I finally finished my journal. I'm really excited to show you. I love how it turned out, so let's take a look at the final spread. So here we have my finished divider page. I absolutely love this page. I think this is my favorite of all of them. I feel like these weapons in the white, like from that reference image, it really pops so beautifully, and the colors are just like so, they just like tell the story so well, and you know exactly what it is when you look at it. I also feel like this mansion detailing is gorgeous. I love it. It reminds me of like Hogwarts. Here is my final calendar and my illustration page. This I feel like turned out so cool. It really like looks like a Clue board, but I feel like it's kind of in my own style, which I love. I love the simplistic color palette and like these black and white details in each of the rooms. I feel like it looks so cool. I just love it. This is so cool too. The colors are everything. And here is my final habit tracker page and my moment spread. I did this one off camera just because it's really boring and it was very simple. I love the way these turned out. I really do think they look like they were like cut out of paper, which is so cool. Really lends to the board game theme. And here is how I did my little habit tracker. I'm planning on doing the colors of the characters for like each of the days as I fill in. And then here is my final moments page. I made it look like kind of a spiral notebook so that it looks like somebody was like taking notes about the murder or something like that, which is such a cool detail. That's my journal. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for hanging out while I designed this iconic Clue bullet journal theme. If you want to see some more from me or to see some up close pictures of my Clue bullet journal theme, definitely follow me over on Instagram and TikTok, where I post a lot more frequently, and I post lots of pictures and the other spreads I do in my bullet journal throughout the month, including mini journal with me's that I do as reels or TikToks. And as always, if you have any requests for future bullet journal themes, I'm right now looking for ideas for November, or if you just have video suggestions or recommendations in general, let me know in the comments or by sending me a DM on Instagram or on TikTok, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye!